than 20 amos, which we said a sukkah that's higher than 20 amos is possible. Now, what could be done to make that sukkah a kosher sukkah? So that's the discussion over here in the Gemara. So the Gemara, we were discussing different situations of making the floor higher. And now we have a different situation here on Dalet and Aleph and Art Scroll. It's 4A, 4A2. If the sukkah was higher than 20 amot. So that's the problem. However, for Hutzin, there were leaves from the branches, from the palm branches, which is part of the kosher schach, which is part of kosher schach, but the issue here is higher than 20 amot, but they're yordim b'toch chaf amot. They are going down within 20 amot. So we have a situation that of most of the schach, a lot of the area of the schach is higher than 20 amot, but then there's part of the schach that's lower than 20 amot. Morning, Mark.
Morning, Rabbi.
Morning. So we're discussing the following case, Mark. We have a sukkah. The height of the sukkah, the schach, is higher than 20 amot, higher than 30 or 40 feet, which makes the sukkah invalid. But what happened was that some of the leaves, part of the schach, from the palm branch, from the bamboos or whatever, from the palm branches that were on the sukkah, some of those leaves were coming within 20 amot. So now, what do we say? Do we say, a lot of the schach is higher than 20 amot, but some of the schach is also under 20 amot. So what's the status of this sukkah? So the Gemara says it depends. Im silatam meruba mechamatam. If the shade that's being given by these leaves that are coming underneath 20 amot is so great that if you would remove the upper layer, which is above those leaves, the upper layer which is higher than 20 amot, these leaves by themselves would give enough shade that there would be more shade than sun. Like we said, that's one of the basic rules of a sukkah, that there has to be more shade than sun. So if these leaves on their own have the ability to provide that shade, and you don't need the tziruf, the joining of the schach, which is above the leaves, which is above 20 amot, so then the sukkah is kosher, kashera.
This is a problem.
What's the problem?
Because if the leaves would give up enough shade on their own, then if you would add the bamboo, then it would be, I believe, too much shade.
It's not. I mean, we're going to see. You can have thick schach. It's not a. We're going to see more about. We can
You have to be able to see the stars. You have to be able
okay,
to.
But they could still, the rain could still come in. It's not that's not the issue here. Is not, this will be the same amount of schach if the whole thing would have been under the 20 amot. It's not. There's the issue here. We're not. There's no issue here that the rain can't come in. That you can't. You could. That's not that we're not worried about that over here. That's not the problem. That's not a problem here. It's not going to be make it.
And what about the row? For the majority of the stock wouldn't it go by majority?
So here the Gemara identifies it's an interesting point. The Gemara looks at. Doesn't talk about whether it's a majority or not, because it sounds like from the Gemara that even if there's more schach that's higher than 20 amot, more than the schach that's underneath the 20 amot, but if we don't need that schach, if the bottom schach is providing enough shade by itself, it would not invalidate it, because most probably the issue here is it's not that the schach that's on top in itself. I wonder if there will be a difference, because it's not that the schach itself is not kosher schach. The schach itself is kosher. It's just that the height is a problem. So maybe we don't look at this as called not kosher schach mixed with kosher schach. It's perhaps that will be the difference. It's just that the issue is the height, and you can't get, and the concern is you have to be able to have on top of you schach that's within 20 amot, that's providing you with shade. And as long as that condition is being met, that's sufficient. Right. The Gemara is not. It's right. It's not a problem. It's not a sukkah on top of a sukkah. Meaning, we're going to find later on, if you have a bottom sukkah and a sukkah on top of that sukkah, that will be an issue, that the bottom sukkah will not be kosher. We'll see if you have. But here it's not a sukkah underneath the sukkah. It's just you have schach that's higher than 20 amot mixed with schach that's lower than 20 amot, and we're saying as long as the schach that's on the bottom is providing with the proper shade, you don't need that schach on top. Then it's considered you are sitting in a sukkah. You are sitting in a sukkah that's lower than 20 amot, and you see the schach, right? You see the schach. That would be sufficient. I mean, Mark is asking a good question. He's asking the question about why don't we say look at the not kosher schach mixed with kosher schach. So I'm saying all the schach is kosher. It's just a side issue of the height, and maybe that's why we don't treat it like Mark's asking that. Why don't we say if you have a mixing of kosher schach or not kosher schach? Which we didn't learn the Gemaras yet about, but if the majority would be not kosher, you would think that the majority should nullify the minority. That's what he is saying, and so it should depend on that idea. And here we don't discuss this issue of maybe the majority wanting to look at even if the bottom schach is providing proper shade, but maybe it should be nullified because it's mixed with this upper schach, which is not kosher. Right, so that's what I was saying. It's not that it's not kosher, it's just that it's a height issue. That's what I was trying to suggest to Mark. I want to see if any of the commentaries here mention anything about this point. Okay, so far they didn't pick up on this point yet. Okay, that's halacha number one. But if not, let's get back into the Gemara. But let's say the schach, the lower schach, is not providing enough shade on its own that it would cause more shade than sun. There's not so many leaves of the schach that are coming lower than 20 amot. And if you would remove the upper schach, there'll be more sun than shade. Besula. Then the sukkah would be invalid because it's as if these leaves are not here at all, and therefore it's considered that the space from the floor to the schach, to the upper schach is more than 20 amot, and therefore it would be a psula. Now, let's continue in the Gemara. But now the Mishnah says another point. The Mishnah says there's a minimum height, which we haven't been focusing on too much. The minimum height is 10 tefachim in order for a sukkah to be kosher. If it's less than 10 tefachim, the sukkah is not kosher. We say a tefach, it could be 10 tefachim, could be between 32 inches and 40 inches approximately. Now the Gemara gives the following case. Hoyte gavoa asher tefachim. The sukkah was high 10 tefachim. So it was the kosher height of the sukkah. It had one mark. It had the minimum height of a sukkah. V'hotzim yordim l'toch asara. But then you had these leaves going down lower than 10 tefachim. So now we have, now the question is it going to ruin the sukkah if you have leaves coming lower than 10 tefachim? So, what'd you say? So it sounds like yes. So let's see what the Gemara says. So, Sava Abaye lemeima. Abaye thought to say, it depends. Im chamato meruba mesilatam. If these leaves, if the sun is more than the shade, which so that if the sukkah, so like if let's say you would remove, if you would remove these, let's see here. So let's see how they explain it over here. Right? It says, let's see Rashi. Rashi says, look at the Rashi. Sava Abaye lemeima. You have the Rashi? Sava Abaye lemeima. Abaye says, the Chihechi de Begova on the Dalet Amud Aleph, 4a2 in the article. The Chihechi, you have the Rashi, Sava, the Chihechi de Begova, just like when it's high, lomamati, lahachshir, it will not make it lower to make the sukkah kosher. If there's more sun that's coming than the shade, we said if there's more sun coming from the shade, so then these we said that the schach that's coming into the sukkah, if there's more sun coming from the shade, so then they are not doing anything, right? We said if you have a sukkah that's higher than 20 amot, and as a result of and you have some schach coming within 20 amot, but if that schach is not providing anything, it's not doing anything, so we say, meaning because it doesn't provide shade, it's as if it's not there. So too, ben muchanami. If it's very short, if the sukkah is very small, it's 10 tefachim high, but it's coming less than 10 tefachim because of these leaves. So if these leaves, do these leaves provide shade or not? So if these leaves do not provide proper shade, so we should look at these leaves as if they're not there, because they're not. If they provide shade, so then you'll say that then this is it's like a sukkah under 10 tefachim. But if these leaves don't provide proper shade, because if you would remove the schach on top, it would be very sunny. And the only reason why it's not so sunny is because you have the kosher schach, or the 10 tefachim and higher schach. But this schach that's lower than 10 tefachim is not doing anything for the sukkah, so you should look at it like it's not there. That's what the Abaye was thinking to say. Is that clear? If you have something the same way, if you have something that's higher than, it's more than 20 amos, but if the leaves come in and if they're doing a job, then then it makes a difference. So therefore, but if it's not doing a job, it doesn't matter. So too, if this leaves that are coming lower than 10, they're not doing a job, there should be no factor, right? And there should be a kosher sukkah. That's what Abaye was saying. Only thought to say, exactly. So Abaye lemeima, Abaye thought to say, Im chamatam meruba mesilatam. If there's more sun than shade, if you would remove the upper schach, and there's more sun than shade, then it comes out that these leaves are not doing anything, so then it should be kosher. Because meaning to say the only reason why this sukkah has proper shade is and therefore it should be a kosher sukkah. He thought kishera. And then Amalei Rava. And then Rava says to Abaye, no, it still won't be kosher. Why won't it be kosher? but it could be more, it could be true that if you would remove the schach on top, it would be more sun than shade as a result of these leaves. These leaves are not providing so much shade. However, these leaves are a hindrance for the person in the sukkah. These leaves are coming underneath 10 tfachim in the sukkah. It impacts the way a person lives in the sukkah. It's not the issue of the shade. The shade, you're good because it's not providing shade. It's not going to ruin the sukkah because it's providing the shade. So it's at the end of the day, it's lower than 10 tfachim. The ground to the ceiling now, as a result of these leaves that are coming lower, it's lower than 10 tfachim, and it makes the living quarters more cramped than it already is, and that's not called you're living in a sukkah. Right. Right. That's a different issue they're concerned about. But if it's within a certain height, then it's like it's part of it's part of the schach. They're not worried about how low it's going to come. They're not worried about intruding on your space from the bottom to the top. They're worried about it separating from the schach, and therefore you're not sitting under kosher schach. That's their concern over there. But you're right. That would be a concern if you would be a 10 tfachim sukkah. So even if anything hanging lower, even if it's even within might be would ruin it. Even if it's within 3 tfachim, even if it's within whatever 3 to 4, whatever halachas over there are, 3 or 4 tfachim, whatever has to say, it would be a problem because even if it's not acting as not kosher schach, but it still would take away from your space inside the sukkah, minimum of 10 tfachim. And that's rough round to the top. Anything, exactly. Right, exactly. And like we said, 10 tfachim is anywhere between 32 and 40 inches.
Very tall buildings. Let's say at each 30-foot buildings, we have 8 feet in between. Sun never goes.
Right. So we spoke about if you would remove the buildings, what if you move those mountains? Right.
If
Potential ability. Right.
potential.
Right. Exactly. Just like I think when you light the candle on Motzei Shabbat, the Havdalah, not everybody closes the lights when you say have the Boy Moreis, right? Many people say the bracha with the lights open, even though you're not really having so much benefit. But if the lights would be off, you would be having benefit. That's mean it did the job. So no problem.
Also, you talk about the sun. I know when you said stars.
Seeing stars through the schach.
Why is that?
But no, I think that point I think is that I presume that it shows you that it's a temporary type of dwelling. That the fact that you could see the stars, that means it's a similar idea that you could have rain coming through a sukkah. I mean, I would say that that's the indication that it's a more temporary type of. But we'll see more when we get into the sugya about the thickness of the schach and that stuff. Amalei Rava. Rava says, "Ha dira suchahi." This is a not proper living area. Ve'ein adam da b'dira sucha. A person doesn't live in such a space that's so small, because and therefore it's not the Torah says, I want you to live in a sukkah. It's a very difficult type of way to live, and therefore it will be pasul. And it's interesting to note that the Shulchan Aruch says that it will be invalid, but the Rambam says that you have to be careful that the leaves should not go within 10 tfachim. And some explain that the Rambam holds that only l'chatchila you cannot make such a sukkah, because if you make such a sukkah, you're not going to stay in such a sukkah. because it's very uncomfortable. But not that it was, yeah, yeah, but he says, because we don't want you to leave such a sukkah. But technically, the sukkah would be kosher. But the halacha says that it's okay. Right. Remember, a sukkah is a temporary type of living. So therefore, we can have a sukkah that's so small, that's not so comfortable. But even that, there's levels in temporary type of quarters. If you have a temporary quarter, you don't even have the 10 tefachim, that's the type of quarter people won't even stay. That's how it would seem a little bit how the Rambam would hold. It would be technically right. Right, it's high as this. So and I want to stay there temporarily. Right. This is like for temporarily for short periods of time. Which is maybe if you're having a camping trip. Right. Right. Now, so that concludes that Gemara. Now comes another interesting Gemara. If the sukkah was higher than 20 amot, ubana ba itztaba, and you built a platform to raise the floor. So now you built a platform to raise the floor. And here you did it kineged dofen hamsa'i al pnei kol sukkah. You did it facing the middle wall throughout the whole width of the sukkah. So here we have, you see the picture. You have a picture in your Gemara? It's Taba be'emsa, the first picture, number 1. So you see the 3 walls. The sukkah needs 3 walls, right? So we got the 3 walls on the side, okay? Got the 3 walls. But the problem is the height of the sukkah is higher than 20 amot. From the ground to the ceiling to the sukkah is higher than 20 amot. What do you mean by topical? The top down, okay. But these are the walls, and there's the ground. The space that's filled in is the ground of the sukkah. Now, because of that ground space, let's say the ground space is an amma, or 2 amot. Let's say it's 2 amot high. So now the sukkah is now that all that space where it's shaded in is now that area is less than 20 amot from the platform. Now this is the beautiful example right here. We got the platform right here. So here, Danny, you see we got the platform. So now it's from here to the ceiling is less than 20, not more than 20 amot. But so now the Gemara says it depends. If this area would be 7 tefachim by 7 tefachim, if the area, no problem. Then, but now Rashi understands there's a big chidush. Rashi understands there's a chidush here because what's the chidush? What if obviously if the area with underneath, if that shaded area is the proper kosher sukkah, size of a kosher sukkah, so of course you can sit in the sukkah. That's a sukkah. What's the novelty of telling me it's kosher? Right? Isn't it obvious? So what about the rest of the sukkah? Exactly. So let's say this room. If this would be 7 by 7 tefachim, and here we have schach all over the room. So what would you say? So you would say this part. We would sit there, right? So that's what you would say. But Rashi understands the Gemara says Shera, that not only is this part of the sukkah kosher, the whole sukkah is kosher. That's a big chidush. That's how Rashi understands. Why does Rashi and what's the logic behind it? The logic behind it is that since this development, this sukkah, we'll call it a development, this structure has kosher walls. The materials of the schach are kosher. Everything is kosher, but it's just an issue of height. So since we have this area, this one structure, part of the structure is kosher, has all the dimensions including the height, So we look at the whole structure. The Mark doesn't buy it. Not everyone buys this as well. And what's no, a tree is not no, but the difference, Mark, is that the tree is an independent element than the other part. Here the chiddush would be we look at this part, this area, as if we look at it as if it extends. It's a very novel idea. Now Rashi says his reason is based on a Gemara later on, which we'll have to see that Gemara later on. I said a lot of Gemaras are connected, but that's Rashi's understood.
The whole stuff is over 20 amot.
The schach, right? All the schach about 20 amos, but now that the platform, which is a kosher sukkah size, that makes the whole. Exactly, that's a big chiddush. Others don't buy it. Everyone can sleep. All the men can eat in the whole sukkah. Others don't buy it. They say, many mean they say it's not. They don't buy this chiddush. They don't say that. They would say just only this part under the platform. On the platform is kosher. Everything else is not kosher. But then they're bothered by the great question. So what's his chiddush? What are you telling me? If you have a sukkah that's higher than 20 amot and you built a platform, that spot is kosher. But you're telling me the other part is not kosher. What are you telling me? It's obvious. So they say, it's teaching you the following, because you might think that Rabbanan would say you can't even sit on this side of the platform because you may come and sit over there. If you're under one building, one roof, not like a tree that's over there and it's over here. Therefore, since you're within one structure, therefore that's the chiddush. The chiddush is you can still sit in this sukkah, even though everything is the same. It's just the only difference is the platform here, and there's no recognizable thing different. Just the platform. That's good enough. The fact that the platform will say, and even though you might say not everyone is a Talmid Chacham to know, this halacha, but that's how they would understand the Gemara. Again, Rashi's understanding is a very big. But that's going to be the next Gemara coming up right now. Not everybody holds. We have to see how they explain. That's the Gemara later on. We have to see how they explain that Gemara. Okay, so that's a matter of dispute how to understand our Gemara over here. Okay, we'll continue in our Gemara. Let's see it again. Heute Gavoa, read it inside the Gemara. Heute Gavoa, if it was higher, Masim Amma, it's higher than 20 Amot, and then you built a istaba, right? Kinegedofen Amsoi, facing the middle wall. So then we say Apnekula throughout the whole width of the sukkah. So then we say the Yesh Bahech Sukkah, and that area where the platform is has a size. Good morning, Mr. Silverman. We are on Dalet Amud Aleph 4A Article 482. It has a Hechsher Sukkah, Kashera. Then it's kosher. Okay. The question is, what's kosher? Is the whole area kosher, or just the spot that's by the platform itself? Okay. Now we're going to get to case 2. Mr. Silverman's coming in on case 2. Case 2 is Min Hatzad. That's the picture number 2 on your that Mark was asking about. Min Hatzad, you built a platform, Mr. Silverman, on the side wall, not across the whole width of the sukkah. You see the 3 walls in that diagram. You
connected to the house, connected to a house or a wall, or tree,
whatever it's a side wall. There's 3 walls of a sukkah. These are the 3 walls of the sukkah, and against one of the walls, the problem is from the ground to the schach was higher than 20 amot, which made it not a kosher sukkah. You built a platform against one of the walls. Now, if you look at the diagram, to be a kosher sukkah, you need 3 walls. You need 3 kosher walls that are 3 walls. Here, you have 1 wall, maybe 1.5 walls, and you don't have 3 walls. So now, what are we going to say over here? So now, if Min Hatzad, depends. We're going to see how we're going to make it kosher. So now, if let's say there is 7 tvachim, we have to say that this side that's shaded is an area of 7 tvachim by 7 tvachim. It has an area, it has the shaded area where you put the platform is the size of a kosher sukkah. But what's the problem? You don't have 3 walls. You can have a coat, you can have a, whatever. You don't have 3 walls that are under 20 amah. Correct. So now comes a very special halacha, which is called Dofen Akuma. That's a halacha that was given by Moshe from Sinai when Hashem told the laws of Sukkah, and it applies to other places as well, that we could, if the wall is within 4 amot of this area, we could consider the wall as if the wall stretches till this space.
Like Levud, right, Rabbi? Like Levud.
Right, similar to that law of Levud. This is a new halacha that if imagine this wall moves exactly towards that to where the platform begins. Right. In order to say that wall extends, so as if we move the wall, so what happened over here? This wall moved to over here. For this wall to move to over here, it can't be more of Dalan Amot. It can't be more than 7 feet by 7. If it's more than 7 feet away, it can't stretch. So that's that. This is one wall, and then over here you were good on this side of the platform.
You're good on this side, you're good on that side.
But you weren't good on this side.
You're good on that side. Maybe
And 4 almost
7
away.
feet away.
Right. If that wall, so then we look at that wall, and this all the way over here,
And then you go.
and then we'll go. As long as this space,
7 feet away.
we don't connect, it doesn't connect. Exactly. So that's what the Gemara says.
But still a problem on the 20 amot. The
No,
20
because
amot.
he built the platform. He built the
Oh,
platform
inside it. Got it.
inside it. Exactly. So the
Got it,
platform
got it.
made it lower
Got it.
the height. Correct.
Got it.
Yes.
Got it.
As long as it bent, as long as it moved, yeah, it bent over there. As long as if it moved, this wall turned to over here. So this whole thing is a wall. This is a wall. Now we got a wall right here. No, if you have a wall, no, right, you can't sit over here. This space, right, this is, remember Mark, you can't sit here. This space you can't sit because the wall came over here. This is wall, it's not sukkah. Right, they're not sitting there. You're sitting only in the platform area. The lower area is kosher.
This one.
Well, what do you mean the lower area? What do you mean lower? The platform, the first.
Not the platform, here. In front of the platform.
According to Rashi is kosher.
First one, kosher.
But here Rashi would say that's not kosher.
Yeah, not-
Only the platform area would be kosher.
You can't sit in this.
Exactly. That would be the difference, right? So, it was higher than 20, what's this? Minatzat. Sorry, you built the platform from the side. If from the edge of that platform to the wall that's opposite, there is arba amot. If there is 4 amot, then no good. Then psula. The sukkah, the whole thing, one of Mr. Batesh, is pasul. Because then you only have a wall, you only have that wall and a half, or 2 walls. We'll call it 2 walls because it is 7. We said that area is 7 tefachim by 7 tefachim, right? So we said the area of the platform was a proper space area. The only problem is he only has 2 walls because it's not 1.5 walls because really that wall in the corner is an area which is 7 tefachim. Why? So therefore, we have 2 kosher walls, but we need, Mr. Batesh, we need 3 walls for the sukkah to be kosher, and therefore we're missing the 3rd wall. But if from that, what did Rabbi Jan? If from the end of the platform, from, let's say, this platform to the wall is less than 4 amot, so then keshera. Then the halacha l'Moshe Mishinai says, we look at the wall, that wall on the side as if it extends, and now you have an area, now you have 3 walls. You have 3 kosher walls. Okay, so that's what the Gemara said. So now the Gemara has a question on this statement. What is the chidush? If the Gemara tells us something, everything the Gemara tells us has a purpose. You don't tell us something that we already know. One area. What's the Gemara? No problem. Have a great day. So what's the Gemara? The Gemara's question is, my kamash malan. What are you teaching us? We already know this already. Oh, safe trip, and everything beautiful. So what is the chidush? We learned this, Tanina. We learned this in the Mishnah. What's the case in the Mishnah? Bayit, there was a house. V'nifchat, and he had a house, and then on the house, you had a ceiling, and then one floor house, and then the ceiling became a hole in the ceiling. And then what you do, and you filled up the hole with schach. So now the question, now you have 4 walls. Your house has 4 walls. A regular house, one floor house. You had a house, a ceiling. Now it's not kosher because it's a ceiling. You have to have proper ceiling. Be a kosher sukkah, right? You have to have schach. It's the kosher ceiling. There was a hole in the ceiling, and you put schach there. And then in that area where you put the schach was the size 7 tvachim by 7 tvachim. You have 7 now, but the issue is you didn't put schach along the whole width and length of the space. You put the schach. Let's say you put schach right here in the middle, and now you're going to say I have 4 walls. I got this wall and that wall and that wall. But the problem is those walls are not directly underneath. The schach is here. The schach is not touched right. The schach doesn't extend to where the wall is.
The sunlight won't hit the walls.
Here.
The sunlight won't hit the walls.
Okay, but the question is, can I sit underneath the schach, right in the middle of the room? Yeah. So it depends. Why? Because we need to have the walls connected to this area. So if the walls are within 7 feet to here, so if the walls are not so far away, they're within 7 feet, then we look as if the walls extend to this area, and then this area is as if it has 4 walls.
All around the perimeter, and the interior
Yes, you have a big building. But take this whole building. And
let's say these boxes, they're not. I take the outside perimeter box.
And these boxes are ceilings. They can't sit it. That's not kosher to sit it. But what you have to remove. What do you remove?
30 feet of Scott. This whole inside's kosher as long as I have 7 feet this way and 7 feet that way.
And as long as from that wall to where your schach, there's not more than 7 feet of a distance between this one. Then we're going to say that this wall, even though there's ceiling here, as if it extends to wherever your schach is. Let's say you put the schach right here, then you would be kosher. Comes off. But how far does the whole ceiling comes out? Only part of the ceiling. The middle comes out. Now, and where does he has less than 7 feet from the walls? That's what he's using. What? Into a sukkah. The sukkah comes in. Okay, I don't want anyone to be late for davening. I want to wish everyone a beautiful day. We'll be back tomorrow on Wednesday. And anybody who's leaving, we wish you. We're going to be off on the 2 days of Chol Hamoed. That's it. We're going to be on Wednesday morning, Erev Yom Tov, and Isur Chag, Friday after Yom Tov. Okay, those are the two.
Rabbi.
Great day. You too. Have a great day.
Have a great day,
Safe
Rabbi.
travels to everybody. Yes, you too. Mr. Silverman, welcome back.
Thank you, Rabbi. Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah. We'll have a safe trip. You too, you too. Keep up your great work, Mark. Mark, also, by the way, on your trip, you have a job. Your job is to recruit more people for when time you come back,
Okay.
okay?
But on my trip, those people don't come to this. You know who does? Joe Jerome, but it's crazy.
So you'll see, I guarantee, hopefully you might find something. You might find something. Keep your eyes open.